The NFL playoffs are officially here, and it's time for me to make my picks for every wildcard weekend game. There are 6 total games, and I am super excited to break them down. I'll be giving you a score prediction as well as a brief overview of every single game. Later this week, I will be doing better videos about each individual game. So I'll be doing the Indianapolis Colts and Buffalo Bills game, a more thorough breakdown. That might be like a 4 or 5 minute video where I'm just going to be giving maybe 30 seconds to 1 minute of each game. I'm going to give you a full breakdown in the future videos, but in this one, I'm going to be doing an overview of every single game wildcard weekend. So let's get into the video. Our first game is the Buffalo Bills against the Indianapolis Colts. This will be played January 9th on Saturday at 1:05 p.m. I'm super excited for these games because they're both some very high-octane offenses, but also both these teams were not highly thought of going into the season. They completely exceeded the expectations. I knew the Buffalo Bills would do well, but the Colts surprised me. I didn't think they would do as well as they did, but they have absolutely dominated. They're 11-5 in a very tough division with the Tennessee Titans. They have played a super great season, and I'm really excited to see them play the Buffalo Bills. However, the Buffalo Bills, I think, will combat them because their defense is a lot better. The Colts do have a fantastic defense, but the Buffalo Bills defense, I think, is a little bit better, and I think they will have the edge. They do have a bit of a better offense, I think, too, just because Josh Allen is playing MVP level right now. The receiving core is extremely good. They have Stephon Diggs, who's been playing out of his mind lately. Isaiah McKenzie, who really was not thought of as too much of a great receiver and a great weapon for Josh Allen, but last week he had 3 touchdowns against the Dolphins. And they have so far just exceeded expectations in pretty much every category. Their defense has played extremely well. And I'm going to say that Buffalo is going to take this game 31-26. Our next game is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers against the Washington Football Team. This game is going to be at 8:15 p.m. Also Saturday, January 9th. I'm super excited for this game because I am a Bucs fan and I have been waiting for us to be in the playoffs for a long time. We really haven't done this since I've been a fan, and I'm super excited to see us here finally. We're going to be playing the NFC East Washington Football Team. Now, before we count out any NFC East teams in the playoffs, I know that they have struggled. All 4 of those teams have really struggled this season. None of them have been overly impressive. Where the Washington Football Team made it at 7-9, but we cannot sleep on their defense. Their defense is very good. Chase Young is one of the best pass rushers in the league right now, as well as Matthew Ioannidis, Ryan Kerrigan. They have a ton of big names on that defense. Their secondary is also very good. Although their offense may have struggled a little bit, they do have Alex Smith locked up, I think, for a quarterback this season. They have kind of changed their quarterbacks a few times, but I see Alex Smith doing very well in this game. I think the final score is going to be 28-24 in favor of the Bucs. They will move on. I'm not being biased at all, but when you look at a 7-9 team against an 11-5 team who is currently on a 4-0 game streak, you're going to have to take the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think they're all around a better team, and I think that they're going to pass. They're going to pass the ball a ton. I think we're going to dot up their defense, whether or not we have Mike Evans. Mike Evans could be a huge loss for us, but I think that we can totally beat them. Our next game is the Chicago Bears and the New Orleans Saints. The New Orleans Saints have been playing quality football all season, even though their quarterback Drew Brees went down. Even with Taysom Hill, they still dominated the competition. They just routed a few teams that entire time when Drew Brees was out. They are a strong team. They are not thin at all. They have a very deep secondary, very deep offense too. They're nothing to look past because for sure they are a better team than the Chicago Bears. However, I'm very interested to see how they play in the playoffs because usually they're not a very good playoff team. They did win a Super Bowl a few years ago, but they're usually not a great playoff team. They never live up to the hype of the playoffs. They're definitely a regular season team. But I think that they will overcome the Chicago Bears just because the Chicago Bears, although they are a pretty good team, they're definitely not at the same level. The New Orleans Saints have been a top team in the entire conference this entire season, probably a top 5 team in the entire league. So nothing to look past for sure. I'm going to say the New Orleans Saints will take this game. I'm going to say it's going to be 27-21. I don't think it's going to be by any means a blowout. I think it'll be a close game, but I think that Drew Brees and Sean Payton will overall completely dominate the Chicago Bears, and they will win this game. Our next matchup is going to be between the Los Angeles Rams and the Seattle Seahawks. I'm super excited for this game. I think it's going to be close too because both these teams are going to be pretty evenly matched. They do meet each other quite frequently as they are both in the same division, the NFC West, and that is a very competitive division. The LA Rams are led by Jared Goff and have had a pretty good offensive season, but I think that the offense is for sure the highlight of their team. And as for the Seattle Seahawks, it's the other way around. Their defense did not really live up to the hype. They signed Jamal Adams this offseason. He hasn't done as much as they for sure would have liked. But still, their defense is fairly good. And I think that their offense is going to completely torch the LA secondary. Although the LA secondary is very good with Jalen Ramsey and a few other big names. For sure, the Seattle offense, the Seattle passing attack led by Russell Wilson is going to completely overwhelm them. And they're going to, Russell Wilson will probably throw for over 300 yards. He is just that kind of player, and that's their kind of scheme. I think they're definitely definitely a better passing team than running team, although they do run the ball pretty frequently. But for sure, this is going to be a win for the Seattle Seahawks. I'm going to say it's going to be 24-17. I think it's going to be not super close, but I think it's going to be coming down to the wire in like the first half maybe. But then since then, I think it's going to be for sure all Seattle's game, just because Seattle is a good team going through the game, like progressing through the game. They're not a first half team. We saw that with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers too, where they just play well in the second half, not as well in the first half. I think they're going to kind of run away with it start of the third quarter, just because that's what they've done all season, and Russell Wilson only gets better as the game goes on. Pete Carroll is also a mastermind coach, and I think he will outmatch Sean McVay just for this game. They meet each other pretty frequently. It's just going to be whoever draws up plays better. Next game is a rematch of the 2019 playoffs. We have the Tennessee Titans playing against the Baltimore Ravens. This is going to be a fantastic game too. The Tennessee Titans are the better team here on paper. They will be having a home game. The Baltimore Ravens were a wild card team, so that means that they will be playing the Tennessee Titans away. I'm super excited for this game. Mostly, this is what I'm excited for, is that Lamar Jackson is not a playoff player. The Tennessee Titans did have a very impressive playoff run last year after just narrowly slipping into the playoffs. But they are a good team, and they should not be messed with. Derrick Henry has had 2,000 rushing yards this season. He is a dominant player. Definitely a player that's going to run all over the Baltimore defense. Their defense is actually pretty good. I said earlier in the season that I didn't believe in their defense too much, but I stand corrected. They have been fantastic this season. They did only go 10-5, which is 10-6, which is a bit of a disappointment for their quality of team. But the Tennessee Titans always outperform them in the playoffs. We've seen this time and time again. The Baltimore Ravens have lost both of their playoff games the last 2 years because Lamar Jackson has really not been on point in either of them. I don't see Lamar Jackson succeeding too much in this game. I think he's young. He doesn't have much experience yet. And this is going to go to the Tennessee Titans. I think they'll move past and move on to the divisional round of the playoffs. I'm going to say the Tennessee Titans will win 27-22. Our final matchup of the video is between the Cleveland Browns and the Pittsburgh Steelers. These are two teams that also exceeded expectations, although they were in a very difficult division. They're both going to be an AFC North teams, and I'm very excited to see them play. They split the series this season, and I'm excited to see how the Pittsburgh Steelers will recover after a very unimpressive last 5 weeks. The Cleveland Browns are a little bit short-staffed. They lost Odell Beckham earlier in the season to an ACL injury after he made a tackle after a pick from Baker Mayfield. But they still have lived up to the expectations that we've had for them just the last couple of years. They did exceed them a little bit more than we expected them to, but they are definitely a quality team, and they are not faking their wins. They are a great team, and they have beat a lot of quality teams. Now, to survive in that division, you have to be good, and you have to know your opponent, and they've known the Pittsburgh Steelers. Although they did lose to them once, they were, I think that they are the better team overall. The Pittsburgh Steelers have kind of been on a skid lately. Ben Roethlisberger has not been impressive to me. They did arrest him last week just so he wouldn't get injured for the playoffs, but honestly, I'm starting to root off in this situation. I know it's an unpopular opinion, but just because Ben Roethlisberger, if you watch his games, he's not being decisive. He's throwing a lot to the defense, which is something that you don't want to see out of a veteran quarterback, especially going to playoff time. I just question his decision making. He's not mobile. There's too many downsides. I don't see him succeeding in this game. He has won a Super Bowl, but I am not overly impressed with him in the playoffs ever. I don't really think Ben Roethlisberger is very good anymore. I know that a lot of people do think that, and I know he does have pretty good numbers this season, but it's gotten a little bit rough these last couple of weeks. They did have a nice, he did have a nice half against the Colts, but overall, I think this is going to be a game for the Cleveland Browns. They're going to get their first playoff win, I think, since like 2002. I'm super excited to see this game too, because this is kind of a first for the Cleveland Browns as well as a couple other teams in this playoff. But I think it's going to be a game that is going to go to the Browns. I think the final score is going to be 17-13. Both defenses are very high caliber, especially the Pittsburgh one between TJ Watt, Bud Dupree. They have Minkah Fitzpatrick, Joe Hayden, Cam Hayward. They are absolutely stacked. But this is going to be a low-scoring game, and it's going to be in favor of the Cleveland Browns. So that is it for the Wild Card Weekend games. I will get you guys into the outro. If you guys did enjoy the video, if you did, make sure you click that subscribe button down below. Let's try to hit 200 subscribers by Wildcard Weekend. I am super excited that we are getting up there. We are at 170 at the time I'm recording this video. So if you're new, subscribe, like this video, and I'll put some videos up here for you guys to watch, and I'll see you guys in the next one.